For me.
Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go. Welcome to Pittsburgh Sports Hour. I'm your host, Jared Barnes, along with my co-host, Johnny Martray. John, how you doing today?
Pretty good, just school, DSDHL champion, just living life.
All right, well, welcome everybody into our first episode of Pittsburgh Sports Hour. It's a pleasure to have you here watching. This will be a strictly Pittsburgh sports podcast. We're looking forward to bring you Pittsburgh sports content. Don't really know
Yes,
what
we
else to
are.
say in this intro. If you have anything to add, John. If not, we'll just jump into it.
Let's get right into it.
All right, screw it. We'll get into it. So, first thing we're going to talk about today is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're both obviously Steeler fans. We're both from the Pittsburgh area. We know how the Steelers' season this past year ended. In disappointment, we didn't make the playoffs, but we still had a winning record.
I have a lot to look forward to.
A lot to look forward to. But there is some glaring needs on our team, and we have the top three positions of need for the Steelers offense today. And at number one, we both agreed that it is the left side of the offensive line.
Oh, 100%.
Dan Moore Jr. is not cutting it. And we both know that Kevin Dotson and Kendrick Green are not worth even starting again next year.
No, you can find something.
Kendrick Green didn't start really much. I don't think Kendrick Green started at all, but
No, I think he got scratched every single game, I'm going to be honest.
even putting him into consideration at one point during training camp last year was a joke. He was so bad as a center, Ben's last year. It was terrible to watch. So
Almost got a
possible
39-year-old man killed.
literally. So possible free agents to consider is Connor McGovern. He's a guard out of Dallas. He's going to cost a lot of money to bring into Pittsburgh, but if you want to win, you have to have a good offensive line, and we have a new young quarterback we want to protect. He got hit a lot this past year. What did he have? 2 concussions?
Yeah, yeah, 2 concussions, and then was he in protocol for the one, or was it like an actual concussion, or whatever it was?
I'm not sure. I
Was
know
he
that
like
he
2.5, whatever.
I know that
If
he
you call
got
that a half.
yeah. I mean, I know that he got required to wear that Power Rangers type helmet that everybody with multiple concussions has been forced to wear. But
I love that helmet though. I'm not gonna lie.
it is a sweet
I
helmet.
think it's pretty cool.
It is a sweet helmet. I find the face mask, if you take it off, that helmet's weird. The no upper
I agree.
bar. It's very odd to me. Another
Very odd.
potential person to consider at guard would be Dalton Reisner out of Denver. I think he might be worth giving a look to. I think he'd be a little more. He's younger than Connor, and he's a little cheaper than Connor, I think. But John, who are some potential rookies we should attempt to consider? Because I think in the first round we should go offensive line if there's a really good one available.
Well, if we were to go offensive line in the first round, of course, my first pick would be Peter Skorinski from Northwestern. I believe he's the tackle. He just everything stood out to me in tape, and big guy. Another guy would be
He's got short arms though. He's got short arms.
short arms. Yeah, I'll take that. But
That means he ain't going to get flagged for holding because he just brings them in all the time.
that's also true. I think Paris Johnson Jr. would also be a good option.
He's a
go
dog.
after.
He's a dog.
I don't know too much about Cody Mauch from North Dakota State. I don't know if you know much about him, Jared.
He lacks a few teeth, but I'll tell you what, he makes up for the teeth in the grit that he brings on the football field. He will pummel you to the ground. I think he'd be a great addition to our run blocking. I don't know how he is as a pass blocker. I don't know if he's a first round tackle.
Yeah.
But if we don't take a guy in the first round, I think he's someone else to consider.
Yeah, and I'm not completely sure if the Steelers are going to go that route first round, but if they, I would say
if Joey Porter Jr.'s there or Jordan Addison's there, they're going that route. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thought process with it too.
And then the last rookie we have to look out for is Andrew Voorhees. He's a guard out of USC. He's not a round one guy, but he's a great run blocker. I mean, I think he's a solid dude. He's very big. He's athletic though, extremely athletic. You saw him pulling a lot at USC this year, and I think he'd be worth drafting.
I haven't watched too much tape on Andrew Voorhees, but I gotta say, one, love the name.
It's a good name.
Has
It's a good
has to be
name.
a dog. Has to be a dog. And two, I would say if the Steelers are gonna go to look forward to the left side of the line, I think they would try to go tackle before they would go guard because at least you have some stability at guard with Dotson. Might not be the best, but better than Dan Moore Jr. would be at tackle.
Yeah, Dan Moore Jr. is a turnstile unless it's Myles Garrett, which makes no sense.
Yeah, absolutely no sense, but he's a dog against Myles Garrett.
Literally one of the best tackles in the game if he's facing Myles Garrett. Sadly, he doesn't face Garrett week in and week out. Which
100%, I wish he
Garrett's
did.
like a top tier pass rusher. Was almost a rookie, not rookie, defensive player of the year this year. And like
Yeah.
Dan Moore plays good against him, but you line him up against one of Baltimore's sorry defensive ends, and he has no chance.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna cut you off for a second. I'm gonna talk about Myles Garrett real quick. And I just want to point out that game we went to back in January, Najee stiff arming him to the ground. That was one of the best plays I saw that game, and it always sticks with me for some reason. I'm not a big fan of Myles Garrett, and I think we all know that. I don't know
No, I
how
mean,
you feel about Myles Garrett. I mean,
I think
ever
he's a
since the Mason Rudolph
scumbag. I think
incident,
he should be suspended from the league forever because of what he tried to do to Mason Rudolph.
attempted murder on the field, man.
Yeah, I think he should have been suspended indefinitely, immediately, and never allowed back to play. I hate you, Myles Garrett. I actually
too.
hate you. You're my least favorite NFL player by far, and that's saying a lot because there's a lot of terrible NFL players that I do not like. Well,
Patrick Mahomes.
Deshaun Watson is by far my number one, but that's for other reasons outside of football. Guy likes touching women. Guy likes touching women. I'll just leave it at that. We got to step away from Deshaun before I get really into it. Because that leans into politics, and then we jump into politics. I start talking about World War III. It's a real problem.
We'll talk about that after we're done with the show.
Yeah, you don't want to hear my political view. But moving on, another real big position in need for the Pittsburgh Steelers is inside linebacker. It was atrocious this year. It was tough to watch. I mean, Devin Bush, he was just letting guys run by him. Miles Jack was not who we thought he'd be. And Robert Spillane is he's a tough white guy, but man, is he unathletic. He can't
Terrible in coverage, man.
He is. I think I would score a touchdown lined up one-on-one versus Bobby Spillane.
I wouldn't doubt that, and I'm just gonna say like I gained a lot of respect for Robert Spillane when he met Derrick Henry in the whole what was it his like second game or whatever starting back then. But then
It's
think
literally been all downhill from there.
yeah, I think by the time the playoffs came around and he was lined up one-on-one against Jarvis Landry, that's a scheme issue as well. So Keith Butler, get your crap together, but he couldn't cover worth crap in that game, and it's just been a downhill spiral since then, in my opinion. And he's a good player to have on the team. He's going to be cheap, but he's a special teams guy. Let's be honest. He's a second stringer special teams guy.
He's good at special teams, which is why he'll stay around.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But, so is Derek Watt. But Derek Watt costs a lot of money too. So
yeah, he might be gone. I don't know if
hopefully we cut ties with him. I don't like Derek. I think Connor is much better, and he doesn't. I think more playing time.
I agree. Connor's pretty good. Meatball, they call him.
Yeah. Some potential free agents that at inside linebacker though would be some more pricey free agents. Levante David. He's getting old, but I think he'd actually bring a veteran presence on that defense. I think that's needed. Not that they don't have leaders, because Minka's a leader on that defense. Cam Hayward's a leader on that defense, and TJ's a leader on that defense. But adding another veteran into that group, and maybe drafting a young guy to develop would be phenomenal.
That would be a good move, in my opinion. I think another move that they could make, but coming back on the playoff game that they played in Buffalo, Tremaine Edmonds did get beaten coverage a good bit that game. So he's an option to consider, but if they're thinking about making their middle linebackers playing coverage a lot, I don't know if it's going to be the right fit.
Yeah, I don't know if Levante David's a pretty not good in coverage at this point in his career either. Yeah, I think our scheme sets up for failure.
Yeah, I think definitely if we gotta change up the scheme. We gotta get the linebackers out of coverage, man. But that also brings us to our next point. Like, that we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But continue.
Yeah, and I think another veteran free agent to consider would be Kyle Van Noy. He's bounced around the league, but everywhere he plays, he's productive. Only
I
problem
know.
is he's lackluster in coverage as well.
Yeah, he is lackluster. I'll give a shout out to my main guy, Nicholas Diamond. He loves Kyle Van Noy, always has, since he was a Patriot.
Patriot guy.
Patriot guy.
Bill Belichick guy. He's going to be around the league for a long time.
No,
But
100%.
like, it's like everybody's bad in coverage, and I don't even know if like any rookies that would be worth considering are really good in coverage. I mean, the best one that I can think of was Henry To'oTo'o from Alabama. He's actually a pretty decent coverage linebacker, but
Yeah,
he's like hit or miss in the run game.
I also think they definitely have to have someone to stop the run because as the run defense as it improved, it still wasn't the greatest this year. And definitely improved more.
If they re-signed Terrell Edmonds and let him play the hybrid weird role that he played this year, I think we'd be okay.
Another guy I want them to re-sign is KZ. I think he'd very important.
KZ is very important.
He was pretty good, but
and
he might want too much. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He'd be worth it. But he'd be worth it because I mean, last time we didn't play like a slot type guy like that or a backup role corner. They turned out to be a dog for another team that happened to be in our division, and Mike Hilton. Like he's what makes the engine goes on that Bengals defense, and we regret paying him every time we play him.
If I had a time machine, that's the first place I'd go back to. What it was at 2020, I'd make Kevin Colbert sign him right then and there.
Yes, because we've never figured out at corner, which is our next need. Corner is our number 3 need. Because
which I think go ahead, my bad.
Cam Sutton's a free agent. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, luckily for the Steelers, that there's a pretty deep, I'd say decently deep, first and second round corner selections. I'd say there's good many guys that they could possibly take.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where they'll go in the second round specifically. Because I think
at 32,
I'm very much sold that they're going to take another offensive guy to help Pickett develop.
Yeah, whether that be wide receiver or lineman. Yeah.
In the first round, so I could easily see them doing corner in the second round. But Cam Sutton's a free agent. Akel Witherspoon is below average.
Below average, yep. Signing him was a big mistake.
Yeah. Arthur Millette, he's not – I mean, he's solid, but he's small. Like, he's not an outside corner. He's a good slot guy. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back if he was
a slot guy. Yeah.
And,
also, William Jackson, Jackson hasn't played a game for the Steelers. I mean, and he was always back in Cincinnati. He was known for man-to-man coverage, and the Steelers more so run zone. So I don't know how well he'd fit into the scheme, and we didn't see it last year because he got placed on IR as soon as we traded for him. So he might be a cap casualty. He might get cut before even off-season workouts begin, but I guess we'll see.
That was part of his issue in Washington as well, where we traded for him, was he didn't fit they only ran zone coverage, and he didn't really fit what they were trying to do, so they moved on from him. Literally gave him to us for pretty much free. We flipped a fifth for Will Jackson, and they gave us
a sixth
for Will Jackson.
Yeah,
and
I think since he was on IR, I'm pretty sure that pick actually doesn't even matter anymore. It just comes back.
Yeah, we got it back. We got it back. So we got Will Jackson for free, and if they cut him, they cut him. I think they're going to try to bring him back because I think there's a reason they traded for him.
They have to restructure his contract for sure, though, because I think he's due $12 million this year or something like that. I could be wrong on the numbers, but it's somewhere around that. It's pretty high.
Yeah, I think he's definitely due for a restructure, and if they cut him as a cap casualty, I don't think his market was all that high to begin with when it was trade season. So I think he'd be easily re-signable for the Steelers.
Yeah, 100%.
But you think there's a shot that there's a potential draft day trade?
Well, look at it. I mean, I've seen some reports that they could try to go after Jalen Ramsey for the pick 32. Don't know if the Rams be willing. I'm not sure how much is left on Ramsey's contract.
I'd assume a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of money. But another thing is definitely be a great fit for the Steelers, but do they want to, one, give away the 32nd pick, and two, have to pay him that much, and hence when they could just take a rookie and develop him for lower price, essentially.
Much cheaper.
Much cheaper, but you might not be getting the guy that Jalen Ramsey is, even if he's past his prime or not.
Exactly. Which is part of my reasoning where I think if you get Jalen Ramsey, he fits what we want to do. He fits the zone coverage type thing. That's what he does a lot in LA. If LA wants to move on from him, get a first round pick, they don't have any. I feel like they'd be desperate enough to send even more with Ramsey. Probably maybe a third with Ramsey to take on the cap hit, which would for the Steelers be definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. There's rookies in the class, but the only rookie I really want them to get would be Joey Porter Jr. Like me personally.
As a Penn State fan, I love Joey Porter Jr. Has all the intangibles. North Allegheny kid, whippy kid. I mean, it's not even about that though. He's just a plain out dog.
Exactly. And with what we've done in the past with drafting corners in high rounds, I don't know if anybody else is really worth it. I mean, maybe Cam Smith from South Carolina, but he's the only other one that I know enough about and believe enough in to draft that like really high.
I think Witherspoon's really good, but I also think he'd be gone by 17. I think he might be the first corner off the board.
Probably.
But and I don't see that. I see some things where they say the Steelers might trade up, but I just don't see it because they'd have to give some things away, and I don't think it'd be good. It'd be a good move because if you get Porter in like either 17 or 32, whichever way you want to go, if you think he's going to fall to 32, take him at 32. But I think out of all of them, I think, and it might be bias showing, but I think Porter might be the best out of all of them.
Yeah, I think so as well, and that definitely could be biased, but
I definitely think the worst out of like the bunch that's maybe being overhyped is definitely Ringo from Georgia.
I think he's
not
terrible.
The biggest guy on him. Yeah, not the biggest guy on him.
Yeah. With that being said, though, that brings us to our next point here. Should the Steelers add another offensive weapon with the first round pick or in free agency, in your opinion?
I'm trying to think who the free agents are, wide receiver wise. You got Juju, you got McCole Hardman, from the Chiefs. So the wide receiver market isn't very high this year in free agents. I know that for sure.
There are some guys that I think they could get for cheap, though.
For cheap, veteran leadership that can come for cheap. I think some people want Juju back. I'm iffy on that. I don't know if he'd want more of a veteran guy in there. And I don't know.
I don't think he's going to come back.
No, I think he's going to re-sign with the Chiefs. To be honest.
Yeah, but I do as well. I think a guy worth looking into would be maybe Paris Campbell from Indianapolis. He's younger.
Okay, yeah.
He's younger. He'd be cheap. He'd bring a veteran presence to the room. He'd be good depth along with what we currently have. And maybe we could get rid of, some other people as well. I don't think I wonder if the Chiefs will be able to re-sign McCole Hardman or Juju, or if they're going to have to choose, because I think Hardman's gonna draw north of $10 million. And I don't think Juju's going to draw that because, I mean, we had NFL players tweeting about him on Valentine's Day because he sent a tweet out. So I don't know if he's going to get, that kind of money, because this year he got paid $3.76 million. And wow, according to Spotrac, his average salary would be 14.6 is what they think he'd be getting.
Wow.
I don't know if Juju draws that.
Yeah, I definitely would not want the Steelers paying him that. Even though I like Juju, I always liked him when he was in Pittsburgh. I wouldn't want the Steelers paying him that. No,
Paris Campbell, a receiver like that didn't really do a whole lot. Maybe Zach Pascal, if he's available from Philly.
Yeah.
Like guys that are fast but haven't really proven their worth yet that we could get for cheap just to add depth. Because I think we have a good 1 and 2 with Pickens and Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. And another like draft day thing that could happen if the Steelers obviously want to go, if they end up going Porter at 17 and like say Addison's gone by that point, they could also take Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State in the second round. I think he's definitely going to be there at 32 just because of his injury history last year, and also the resurgence of Calvin Austin the third's coming back this year. We didn't see him last year, and even Sauce Gardner said that was the hardest guy to cover in college. So
Yeah. So I would hope
that,
that they can figure out a role for him this time around.
yeah,
Because that was the
I would
problem
hope
last
so.
time.
Yeah, that
Matt
and then he ended
Canada's
up
a
getting his
clown,
surgery.
dude.
Don't even get me started on Matt Canada, bro.
I don't want to start on Matt Canada because today's just not the day. That guy lives rent free in my nightmares.
I wake up every night, look in the corner, and I see Matt Canada in the darkness.
Yeah, you don't see the man in the black hat. You see Matt Canada in the corner.
Matt Canada.
All right. With that being said, that's enough Steelers talk for today. I'd like to hit on some Penguins stuff because the Penguins have been, interesting as of late, to say the least.
For sure.
And I want to get your opinion on the goalie play because it's been problematic as of late.
Well, I'm just gonna start out. Obviously, Jari's been injured most of the year this year, and it's definitely affecting the Penguins because Casey DeSmith right now, I'm looking this up, his record currently, and I don't know if this is updated after the other day, but it is 10, 12, and 4. So technically 16 losses, 10 wins. His GAA is 3.28, which is pretty high, and a save percentage of 904. So, and that's who's been holding down our fort for the last little bit. And obviously, Jari, if you can't stay healthy, then you're gonna have to try to find somebody because Casey Smith is just not going to work out this year.
No, Casey DeSmith was. I don't know why we re-signed him to begin with.
Well, I could see why last year.
He's terrible.
Later last year, like second half of the season, he ended up playing really good, and then went into the playoffs as Jari was hurt as usual because Jari can't stay healthy. But he went to the playoffs, had a decent first game, or I think it was during the first game he ended up getting hurt against the Rangers, and which brought in
Louis Domingue.
His name, Louis Domingue. Louis Domingue blew that dang series for us.
Louis Domingue was sub. I was gonna say it could be worse. We could have Louis Domingue as our current backup, but at that point, you might as well just get any Yinzer off the street downtown and
Louis Domingue is actually on the Rangers now. At least last time I saw. I don't know if he got it cut or not, but
Louis he's trash.
Nah, he was not an NHL.
He was so bad. He was so
bad. And the guy that was backing up to Smith, what was his name? I'm coming to pronounce this wrong. Is it Tormowski? Something like that.
Yeah, I know who you mean. I don't know how to pronounce his name either.
Though. He only played in 2 games, both losses. So I think the one game he gave up 4 goals. The other game he gave up, I think it was also 4 goals. I might be wrong on that, but the goalie plays definitely hasn't been great. Even Jari came back yesterday. Everybody thought, "Wow, Jari's back. Let's get it started." He comes out. Oh my gosh, lets up 5 goals.
Yeah, he was bad. That was not good. But again, he did just return from injury. I've never been the biggest fan of Jari, to be completely honest with you.
No, I don't think Jari's the franchise guy, and I don't disagree with the Penguins for making the move a couple years ago to get rid of Matt Murray because I don't think he was the franchise guy either, and I think that's panned out after he got traded to Ottawa because that obviously didn't work out for him either. But I definitely think that a change has to happen soon. Especially like Jari's serviceable if he's in there, but hey, the problem is he can't stay in there.
Yeah, and like that's not the Penguins' only problem. I mean, we all know that the third line is atrocious.
Oh,
if they're on the ice, you might as well turn off the TV.
That is the worst line in hockey today, and it's statistically the worst line in the NHL. And Jeff Carter should have never been signed back. They should have cut him.
Too old. He's too old.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna disrespect Jeff Carter too much here because he was a great player. He's just he's
in his
40,
day.
41
in his
years
day,
old now. Yeah, he's too slow now, and that's a big problem with the Penguins. They're way too slow.
Yep.
They're a very old team. They're getting slower, and they also don't have any guys like you. You would maybe want somebody on that third or fourth line that could bring the body to some people, some enforcers. They don't have anybody.
Nope.
The only person I could think of right now that could be an enforcer is Jason Zucker, and you don't want Jason Zucker going out there and getting hurt again because he has a very rough injury history.
Yeah. Yeah. And like with our depth issues, like I don't fully get where the direction the franchise is going because we don't really have any crazy good young pieces that are like coming up that
Yeah.
I'm aware of. Like we're at a rough spot. Like that leads me to think like, do you think the Penguins should consider a head coaching move?
Well, this is a tough one. Some people agree, some people disagree, and a couple weeks ago you could ask me, and I'd say definitely not. Mike Sullivan's the guy. But after he's handled these last couple weeks, I'm starting to flip the other way per se, and I wouldn't consider it a bad move. I wouldn't do it during the year. If they're gonna do it after the year. But
No, I'd
I
agree.
don't think Mike Sullivan's cutting it anymore. He's not making any changes. He has some young guys in the AHL, Wilkes-Barre Scranton, and that he just refuses to bring up. They have some talent. Like Drew O'Connor's being sent up and down. I think
That's true.
he's up. I think he's up right now. I'm trying to think who else. Nylander's down there. Poland. Well, just guys that should that young that could be bring youth to the roster that just are staying down in the AHL, and he's not
Feel like
making the
they do
decision to bring
something
them
on
up.
the third line. Feel like they do something better on the third line.
Yeah, I think if Mike Sullivan wants to start somewhere and change Penguin season, turn the Penguin season around, he needs to scratch Jeff Carter and bring up one of the young guys. And also Kasperi Kapanen, I was always a fan of him, but he just doesn't produce anymore. It was like that last year, and it's like that again this year.
Yeah, and I mean at this point, trade deadline's coming up. We're going to need a lot of pieces. Adding to that third line would be great, but I think that we could do that with maybe some of the young guys as well. But defenseman is a need. That's a massive need that like we have.
Yeah, I'd say so. Some definite defensive.
I mean, if someone was willing to trade a backup goalie, that'd be great. I'd love to get rid of DeSmith. I cannot stand DeSmith.
Yeah, the thing with the Penguins right now, they're the trade deadline. It's gonna be tough because the Penguins do not have cap, and
Yep.
they spent all of it on guys like Kapanen and Carter with re-signing them back, and obviously the GM's already looking at those moves now and thinking, oh gosh, what did I do?
Yeah.
Because those were definitely not the right moves at the time. But if the Penguins do, excuse me, if the Penguins do make a trade at the trade deadline, they want to obviously try to I'd say go after somebody that could bring some speed to the game because they're obviously lacking speed on the ice. And if you can get a backup goaltender, go ahead. Or if you get like a guy that can rotate in with Jari, but the price is high for goaltenders that are on the trade deadline. I mean trade block. Guy that comes to mind, they could pursue John Gibson from Anaheim, but he's expensive, and you might have to give some stuff up to Anaheim. And obviously, the Penguins don't have too many pieces to give up for a starting caliber goalie.
No. Which leads to my next question, because I'm borderline at this point. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not. You watch hockey and pay attention to hockey a lot more than I do. Do you think the Penguins can make the playoffs this upcoming year?
I think so, just because of the veterans and Crosby and Malkin and Letang. I don't think I can't see them staying out of the playoffs.
Do they get bounced in the first round again?
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
If they get to the playoffs, they are making it past the first round, and it sucks for Crosby, Letang, and Malkin coming back to their later years, re-signing Malkin and Letang this season, and gonna have to endure this. Even if they even do make the playoffs, I haven't checked the standings today or yesterday, but I knew a couple days ago they were 65 points. They were the first wild card, a half a point up on the New York Islanders, who just beat them, by the way, last night, and they were only a point up on the Capitals, which I'm not sure where the Capitals stand now, but they're definitely close, and they need to start stringing together wins, and they need to change something in order to make the playoffs. As of right now, I would say it's probably a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Taking a look at the standings here, we are see, where are we at here? You have 63 points. So, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
We're kind of behind the 8 ball with everybody. I mean, we're struggling. Like,
Are the Islanders and Capitals ahead of us now or no? I didn't check that.
the Capitals are not. The Islanders are.
Okay, I was gonna say the Islanders definitely are after beating us twice in the last
Yeah.
like 4 days.
The Islanders are. Yeah. The Capitals are only a point behind us.
Yeah, and another point I want to make is that this year against it was the New York no, the Carolina Hurricanes, the New York Islanders, and the New Jersey Devils, the Penguins, all Metro teams, all in their division, they're combined 0-11 against them.
That's bad.
So when it comes down to it, if they're gonna need tiebreakers, it's not looking good for
It's
them
not
right
happening.
now.
It's not happening. So it sounds like we both think that even if they do make the playoffs, they're not going to do anything productive.
No, they're gonna get bounced first round if they even do make the playoffs because they're gonna be playing a top tier team.
Yep, agreed. So, I mean, I guess with not a bright future for them, we'll move on to another team in Pittsburgh that maybe we don't know if they have a bright future or not. And the only question we really have about them coming into this year is, will they actually be competitive? Because that's been the thing of the last few years. They just haven't been competitive. Like the
You see,
Pirates have been disappointing to watch year in and year out.
100%. I actually do think the Pirates can be competitive this year. They have bringing in a couple veterans in McCutcheon. What was the other guy's name? Goodness, I don't keep up with baseball much.
G-Man Choi. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Okay, that was the guy from the Japanese league, right? Or Japan league or whatever.
Yeah. That we won arbitration with him, so
yeah.
He said no bad blood, but I don't know. I feel like there is, but
And
Carlos
Santana. Okay, but add them to the group, and of course O'Neal Cruz is gonna be he's a star in the making.
Yep.
I think he's gonna be an MVP one day.
I think so
MVP.
too. I think so
It's
too.
just the matter of will he want to stay in Pittsburgh, and also they have a good young core. They got Brian Reynolds. The only thing that can keep them from not competing this year, in my opinion, is pitching.
Yep.
I think they're gonna put up the runs. They got a pretty decent lineup out there in the field.
We were batting well at times last year. We were hitting home runs at times last year. Like the month of June, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I know we had a ridiculous amount of home runs in June, but we also struck out more than like almost any team in the league.
Yeah. I also there was a lot of games last year that it was either like the Pirates losing effort, they would either lose like 7-6, they'd still put up 6 runs and lose by, or when the pitching would have a good game, they would lose 1-0. So it was very inconsistent. You couldn't put it all together at the same time. And hopefully this year they will. And I could actually see the Pirates with their young core win. I don't see them as a playoff team this year, but I see them as a fringe team that has a chance of making the playoffs. They're going to go into September, in my opinion, with a chance of making the playoffs. I see them as like a 80-some win team, 85 to 90, but I don't see them making the playoffs, unfortunately, this year.
No.
But I think the future is bright in Pittsburgh, but I still think you got to get nutting out of there.
Agreed. I think new ownership would be great, but I mean, I'm glad this year he spent money. I mean, $30 million on veterans. He brought in a couple other veterans that I think will make a little bit of a difference as well. But those were like the 3 big names he brought in: Santana, Choi, and McCutcheon. Bringing McCutcheon home. Fans love that McCutcheon is back in Pittsburgh.
That's going to sell Nutting some tickets, I'll tell you that.
Exactly. That was the point of bringing him back. Whether he's good or not, he's going to bring at least a consistent bat every night.
Yeah, I'll say he'll probably bat at least 270, which is pretty good.
Yeah. I just hope that they can keep Contreras, like, don't overuse Contreras like they did last year. Contreras is one of our best pitchers currently up on the main roster. We have a lot of young bucks, literally young bucks at the lower levels. The pitching is coming. Like, when the pitching comes, this roster is going to be pretty legit, because I think Brian Hayes
Yeah,
can really develop this year, I think.
yeah.
And I
I
think
forgot about Key Brian Hayes. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
he's great at third base. He's a great defenseman. If he can
He
get
is.
more consistent at the bat and hit with a little bit more power, we're going to be okay. O'Neal Cruz is going to be O'Neal Cruz. He's going to hopefully he doesn't strike out as much this year.
Yeah, that was a big issue. But Aaron Judge was also like that his first year. Struck
Yes,
out a ton, and it got fixed. I think if he put in the work over the offseason, I think that those strikeout numbers are definitely going to come down.
agreed. Like we have a lot of like good younger pieces. I hope that like I would like to see them continue to develop.
Yeah, they
Um,
have a good decent farm system too. I know. Sorry for cutting you off, but I know
no, you're good.
a pitcher, first round pick. I'm not sure where he's at in the system yet, but his name's Shane Baz.
He's
He was
good.
pretty good. Yeah, he is good. I don't know if we'll see him this year or not, but I doubt we'll see him this year, maybe next year. But I know their future's pretty bright in the farm
Yeah.
system. It's just a matter of if they're trading people, trying to cut cap. Sorry, there's not even a salary cap in baseball, and you still can't even spend 30 million.
Well, see, that's the
Well,
thing.
I guess he did this year, but
Yeah,
he's spending less on like 3, 4, 5 players than Mike Trout say making in a year, and
yeah,
and obviously the market comes into that. If, bigger markets are definitely going to get the bigger time players with no salary cap, and I think that's I think baseball needs to change. I think they got to have a salary cap here soon.
yeah. And like we don't have a good catcher. We don't have that. That's part of the problem. We have that coming though with Henry Davis.
Yeah,
He is
I'm
our
not.
top. He's our top prospect. Quinn Priester, when Quinn Priester and Henry Davis will come up at the same time. They are the future at catcher and pitcher.
Mhm.
Then we have Bubba Chandler, who is literally like Shohei Ohtani. I mean, he can bat and pitch at the same time. Mike Burrows, good pitcher. Like we have good pitching down at the next level, and we have very, very, very talented. We have infielders, but we don't really need infielders. But either way, I like our young pieces. Sadly, they're not all up this year, but if the ones that are currently on the roster continue to develop, like O'Neal
Yeah,
Cruz, Brian
Uh,
Hayes, mixed in with the veterans to give us more consistency.
yeah. I was gonna say bringing those veterans were actually like even McCutcheon, even if it was just a ploy for ticket sales, I think that's a dang good move because
Yeah.
he'll give you consistent play and he'll be a leader in the locker room.
Yes. And if we could extend Brian Reynolds to a longer extension, that would be fantastic as well.
Yes, Brian Reynolds, he is the number one priority for the Pirates this
Yes.
year, is to
Because
get him signed long term because he is also a star.
yeah. And he's defensively solid. He might not have he might not be the best batter, but he's going to get you home runs. I think it would help if, he wasn't the only person on the team that was good at hitting the ball consistently, which was sometimes I think the issue last year.
Mhm.
But seeing him and getting him, I mean, I don't want to trade him, but if we do trade him, I would like some good stuff in return. But maybe some, decent outfield and maybe cash. I'd take cash.
I
But
think if they do end up trading him, I will be very ticked off
I'll be mad.
if I would be mad in general, but I know the Pirate way, and they would try to trade him for some farm system players and some cash. And I obviously think if you're going to trade a player of Brian Reynolds' capacity, you want to get somebody that could come up and play now and contribute to the team now.
Agreed. But I think if this isn't the building block year that we think it should be, Shelton should get canned.
Oh yeah, 100%. He should be gone. And is the GM? Is he a new GM this year? Or was it last year that he came in? I forget the GM for the Pirates. It's not Huntington anymore.
Charrington.
Charrington. Yeah, he came in last year, right?
He has a reputation of rebuilding teams.
Okay.
So he wants to keep that reputation intact. So I assume he's not just going to fall in line with what Bob Nutting and not spending any money is going to want to do. But we'll see.
You would hope so.
We would hope. But with that being said, I think that pretty much wraps up everything we wanted to talk about today. So
Yeah.
thank you for watching the first edition of Pittsburgh Sports Hour. We will see you guys next week. Peace.